Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. Talking about men's mental health. We've got a guest on today who for total open honesty, is an ex-client. And we're going to be talking about the differences between counseling, coaching, and therapy, and how mind management kind of fuses into that. So before we go any further, Michael, introduce yourself, tell everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Who are you, Michael?
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Gillespie. I don't know what you really want me to say, Cuddy. I mean, yeah, like you say, past client. I was, as we'll probably go into, suffered a lot with unresolved trauma for a long time. Had been to counselling and had seen psychologists and various bits and pieces. Um, and they had helped at the time, but the unresolved trauma was still there. But then after speaking with Cuddy, we unpacked a lot of it, changed perspectives, and I am now the best version of my current self.
That's very nice, by the way. That's very honest of yourself. And I always love that term of endearment. It says, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. And that's all we ever are. How to become the best version of ourselves after trauma is such an important part. So we for anyone that doesn't know, and I'll mention this as to anybody that listens to these podcasts and they're wanting to be a coach or they want to go into coaching. Uh, it's a hard thing that once you train to be a coach, Michael, you recognize the signs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a networking event, and because I'd already been working with your partner. Well, not saying anything about your partner, but I'd been working with your partner for something completely different.
Yep.
And I was at a networking event, and I was like, right. There was a few things that I noticed, and I went to your wife and said, FYI, it's possible Michael's got unresolved trauma. I noticed something, few things. And when you get a coach, you get to learn these things. But the thing is, you have to kind of construct a story so people come to you and want to work with you. You can't go around diagnosing or saying this person's got a problem, this person's got a problem. But because I knew your wife so well from a previous term of working with her, I mentioned, look, from what and I'll tell you what it was. Strangely enough, it was one of your ticks. It was
Mm-hmm.
one of your, and I think you had a flare up with psoriasis, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I've suffered with eczema for since I
Yeah,
was born, pretty much.
yeah,
But it comes and goes in stages with stress and
yeah.
things like that. So.
And I just said to your wife, FYI, and you didn't know, you weren't aware. You were like, right, okay, fair enough. And we had a nice chat. And that was one of those conversations that a lot of coaches like, oh, I know that person needs help. I'm going to go and tell them. Don't go and tell someone they need help. It's a
I'll come
very
across the wrong way.
it comes, and I'll tell you what it comes because I did this when I was new as a coach. I was like, oh, I can go and help everybody. No, you can't help anybody unless they want your help. And we're only the conduit of change. And I did a podcast with someone else and said, ego gets in the way. I said, now I've got this skill, I can help cure people, help people. We don't. We have a certain set of techniques that we can use that help other people, but technically the conduit of change is the person that said, oh, I think I want to work with them. I think I need some help.
Mhm.
So that's what this podcast is going to be around. Eves, I know I recognized that there was something going on at that very small networking event we went to, and we, in all fairness, you're going to talk about that more than I. But we're going to talk about trauma in men
Mhm.
and how trauma from childhood will turn up in our lives and can become very, without us realizing it, our nervous system's not regulated. We don't understand our behaviors are inhabited and create the outcomes that we keep going through on this loop until we resolve that nervous system, resolve that trauma, and help people live life on their terms. We get to be that change. So, Michael, what we're going to talk about with you is there was trauma of which you'd not had resolved, but there was a trauma before that,
Mhm.
which was from childhood. And everyone's childhood is completely different, and we just don't know. And you weren't aware of how much something now was actually affected by something in the past. And mind management works on timelines, and there's a process that we can use that helps reformat and reframe things that have happened in the past. So just tell us briefly about your childhood, Michael.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that I had a bad childhood
Yeah,
because it's not that. Obviously things happen in life that you don't always necessarily see coming,
yeah,
and yeah, that's just what happened with us. We were a sort of what's a there is no such thing as a sort of normal family nowadays. But yeah, like obviously mum and dad split up when we were quite young, but we still spent lots of time with both, and there was me and my three siblings and then four siblings later on. And we were all sort of quite tight knit when we were growing up, and yeah, we did okay. But yeah, one of the sort of the main thing that kicked it all off was one of my mum's
mhm,
ex-boyfriends. Um, he abused my youngest sister at the time. Um, and that then set off a whole chain of events of um like my mum moved away with him. He then went to prison. We then had to go through a series of psychologist
mhm,
visits, children's panel reviews, court hearings, you name it. And it caused a lot of tension, a lot of upset, and a lot of stress for everyone in the family. Um, and I didn't. I mean, obviously, we spoke to psychologists, but I mean, I was only when this all kicked off. I was maybe 9, 8, 9, maybe, and I didn't really know at that point when I was seeing a psychologist. I was maybe 11 or 12. I didn't really know what it was for, um, so didn't really like it didn't do much for me, to be honest. Um, and I just got very good at putting a mask on, and yeah, everything's fine, and which is a very typical man thing, um, because men are supposed to be the strong ones, and we carry all the weight of everything,
yeah,
and that's what I got very good at. It was just masking, and then yeah, once then things happened later on in life, had another trauma, and it brought back after then speaking with you, because I went through counselling after that second trauma,
mhm,
and although that did help at the time, um, it helped me just in that moment to just kind of offload a wee bit, but again, didn't really resolve anything sort of in here for me.
yeah,
And it was only then once I started talking to you that you sort of helped me connect the dots between the one from my adult life to the one in my childhood.
yeah,
And it was a feeling of uselessness, a feeling of, not being good enough and things like that. But then just through was it 4 sessions that we had?
I think so. Yeah, it was quite quick.
Yeah. Um that you helped me to just completely alter my perspective and see that, I did everything I could have done in both senses. There was nothing else I could have physically done to change the outcome of what happened. So why should I, why do I feel useless about that when I've done everything in my power that I could have?
Yeah,
And that really has helped me to sort of take that burden off my shoulders. I don't feel weighed down by that anymore. And it's just allowed me to be a bit more free, a bit like cleared my mind out a bit, and yeah, it's just helped me appreciate like time with my family more, spending time with the kids, and just enjoy being with them.
yeah.
So
Well done. Thank you very much for sharing,
no
Michael.
problem.
That's yeah, no, it's a powerful story of, and if we you could, well, I think if I remember correctly, I was just talking to somebody else about this, and I was like, because I work with so many clients, I've had to get good at decarb, what's the word I'm looking for? Decarb,
Debugging.
I can't remember the word. No way. Putting it into boxes, putting that away, then moving on to the next client, putting that into a box,
Yeah,
moving on to the next client. Decompartmentalizing. I can't think of the word.
Decompartmentalizing.
That's the word. That's a hell of a big word. No wonder I can't do it or say it. So if I remember correctly, it was a feeling. You said that for. So let's use this as an example for anyone that's listening to this. What we do is it's a simple reframe of allowing ourselves to reformat the nervous system by rewiring the neural pathways with questions, and we can help people change those feelings that they had. And I remember you said, I just constantly feel useless, Michael. And we found out, when is the first time that you felt useless? And it went back to something in childhood. And this is how anybody who's listening to this can probably do it on their own and go, is the event? We all have keystone events in our lives that we have and we were made to feel, and then we hold that on and we start projecting that as we go. We have this core belief about ourselves, of how we act and are, and then we keep that moving forward. And we just think, because of something that happened to us on that timeline as a child, that must be who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a powerful thing that when you work with, and coaching and counseling is different.
Yeah.
As I said before, I say to all my clients and things like that, look, I'm a coach, not a therapist or a counselor. I'm solution focused. We can help resolve and we help move forward. And that's what we did quite quickly with yourself. And it is a quick process for people if they are wanting to find that resolve. And I found recently with a lot of the clients that I'm working with, they're wanting that resolve, Michael. They're not wanting to stay. And we'll talk a little bit about victim mindset. And there's a difference between being a victim and having a victim mindset. Completely different. But we want to make sure that people understand the difference between victim mindset and being a victim. Those feelings that we have, we believe the meaning of where we are is like, well, that must have happened. That must be how I am. And then our actions and behaviors feed into that. We feed into that feeling instead of looking for a different feeling and a different perspective, which is what we did. Then we can help start people go, oh, actually, no, I'm not useless. I know I feel it a lot. There was a time when something happened, so I must be, because that's how the neural pathways and the seeds go.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful thing that you did, Michael, is you went back to a memory of the first time I felt this emotion, and we worked on there, and we stenciled back all the way from that. So well done for doing that, because that means we have to head back to the traumatic time.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily easy, because obviously then it brings back up a lot of feelings and you revisit all the nasty memories and things like that. But yeah, to fully manage your mind,
Yeah.
you need to.
It's called having to heal it to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Or to feel it to heal it. We've got to feel it to heal it. And that's how we allow those emotions and those negative, disempowering emotions move out of our system. And it's such a powerful thing, Michael. So well done. Now, what's changed within your life since we've worked together, Michael? Because there's been a lot of changes, and I know there's been a lot of changes. Because I remember your wife came to me and said, thank you, by the way. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, no,
What
that's
have you
fine.
done? Because he's a completely different man. Yeah.
So well done on that. But Michael, what's changed in your life? Because it's a while ago since we've worked together. What's changed in your life, and what do you do differently now?
I like I said, I just don't feel as weighed down with stuff anymore as I used to. Thing like not necessarily the stuff from my childhood, but like the more recent trauma used to still play in my mind quite a lot. And there'd be certain things that would happen and it would make me think about it, or I would still revisit and get the feelings of it and things. And it would make me sort of go in on myself just a wee bit. And my wife would notice, or I would snap at something that I maybe wouldn't normally snap at, or some just wee things. Um, but then since working with you, I just don't feel as kind of weighted. I feel a lot less stress. I'm not saying I don't still get stressed out at things, but I don't feel as stressed about those things like I used to. And like I said, it's just helped me to sort of enjoy being again, and you know, we've just, as you know, we've just started a new business just 6 months ago, and you know, it's helped me to kind of get into a better mindset with that in terms of trying to push it and speak to people, and you know, they can see now the kind of passion that I'm putting into that, which is helping then to stem into other things. I'm now getting asked to go and do career talks in schools and mentorship programs and things like that, you know. And I don't think that's something that I probably would have looked at doing if I was still feeling like weight bogged down with all that unresolved trauma.
Wow. So look at that. Wow. Look at everything that's opened up since. So how much have you gained in life then?
So
From,
much,
yeah.
so much. And it's not necessarily like when people say how much have you gained, like they'll maybe think monetary value, but yes, that's always good, but it's not all monetary value, not for me anyway, because it's allowed me to sort of strengthen relationships like with my wife, with my kids, build a new brand, you know, and just, you know, try and just better myself and build a legacy for my kids.
Wow. That is such a powerful statement. Building a legacy for my kids. How are you as a father now, when you're around the kids now and you're around, what does that being present bring for you?
Um, just well, it's helping because it's allowing me now to, like you say, be more present and then help with their development as well. Because, as you know, my daughter struggles with being autistic, or well, she's just about got a full diagnosis, but she's on the ASD pathway, and my son's just about to start being assessed for having ADHD. So they've got additional challenges that they need as much support with as possible. And now that I'm more present with them, I feel now that I can help them and give them the support that they need, along with my wife, to help them become who they want to be and help them flourish as much as possible.
Absolutely. Wow. That is just unbelievable. How does that make you feel as a man now?
Useful.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Michael, is there anything else you want to share for men that's going through trauma, not knowing, and they've tried counseling, and then those feelings didn't disappear, and all those? What would you say to all the men out there that's struggling? Um, how just what would you say to someone else who's going through something?
Well, I mean, like we said earlier on, I used to see a psychologist when I was a lot younger.
Yeah,
After the more recent trauma, I then saw a counsellor.
yeah.
So I feel I've kind of had a bit of experience with that side of it, and then the mind management side of it. And like I says, at the time, those kind of help in the short term to help you just, you know, talk to someone that's impartial, which is fine, but it doesn't really resolve anything. It just gives you an opportunity to vent a wee bit,
Mm,
which, don't get me wrong, that, like I says, that does help. But what I would say to all the guys listening and things like that is, you know, it's okay to not be okay. You'll have seen that hashtag banded about so many places, but it is definitely okay to not be okay. And don't feel scared to open up if things are getting to you, they're weighing you down, you know, you're feeling like you're struggling or anything like that. There is always someone there that you can talk to. And I'd say the massive difference for me working with a mind management coach is they can just help you change that perspective on it.
mm.
They give you like you give that opportunity to unpack something, vent about it, but then you just help. That extra bit is that you help change that perspective so that it doesn't then become a reoccurring problem.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
You can help to just, like you say, put it out the system. And it's not necessarily because obviously the stuff that's happened, I'll never forget about it.
Of course, absolutely.
It's always going to be in there, and I will always remember it,
Yep.
but it doesn't affect me anymore.
Wow.
So
That's
that's the message I would say to all the guys out there is if you think that there's something there and you've tried the counselling or whatever and it's not worked and you're sacking off the whole, that, oh, it didn't work for me, so I'm just gonna forget about it. I'll be okay, I'll be fine, don't worry about it.
yeah.
Just find a mind management coach.
And do you know what, Michael? What I'd say for that as well, to finish off this podcast as well, what I'd say to anybody is if mind management coaching is not for you, don't give in.
Yeah.
Go and try something else, whether it's breath work, whether it's meditation. I mean, we talk about meditation an awful lot, and I do that with a lot of the clients. Start. They might, if it's not mind management, it might. I know I do EMDR, but there could be EMDR that's the part of the thing that helps. It could be havening, it could be brain spotting, it could be speaking to a different counselor. If you don't resonate with that person that you're working with, as much as this is a fantastic testimonial for priority mind management, and thank you for that, Michael, is if even if mind management's not worked for you, try something else. There's so
Yeah.
many different things out there that once we're ready to relinquish that upset and that trauma and that upset, there's something out there that can help you live life on your terms and become the best version of yourself. Michael,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And as always, big love from Cuddy. And for everyone watching this podcast, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. We're extremely passionate about that. Anything else from you, Michael?
Just that if you have tried mind management and it didn't work, is it maybe that it wasn't the right mind management coach? Because if it wasn't Cuddy, try Cuddy.
This is very nice. There we go. As always, big love from Cuddy. If it's in the mind, it can be managed. I'll see you in the next podcast.